over 2 days of driving, over 2,000 kilometers, all to get to this one place, the Simpson Desert. But before we enter the Simpson Desert, we need to stop off at Mount Dare. That is right, Mount Dare. The last fuel and the last food before you get into the Simpson. It is the final place to check over your car and make sure it's all up to scratch before you head out into the Simpson Desert. All of this driving and more.
Which brings us back here, Dalhousie Springs. We were here last year, and when we were here we found out that our sub tank was broken and that we could not cross the Simpson Desert, which was a mega downer. Now we're back in the MAV with our sub tank fixed, so I reckon we can go cross this thing. So we just spent the last half an hour and a bit in the spring itself. It's nice and warm. It's just a beautiful little thing. It was nice and windy, so you know your head would get cooled down every now and then. But now we're going to pack up and head out that way. That's right, we're going to head out across the Simpson Desert and spend our first night in it and hopefully cross it.
So that was Dalhousie Springs done and dusted. We went in the spring, we went for a dip, and it was as beautiful as they always say it is. I definitely recommend visiting there. Then we packed up, chucked the sand flags on, and headed out into the Simpson. Sadly, we did see one guy who had to get recovered by the Unimog from Mount Dare, which isn't something you want to see, but hey, it's a pretty cool rig. So that was day one on the Simpson already. It didn't take that long for us to get to camp, and we wanted to get to camp in time to see the sunset. We didn't feel like doing crazy Ks that day because we didn't really need to. We had plenty of time to get across it, plenty of time to spend on the Simpsons, so we decided to stay exactly where we stayed last year. Yet this year, instead of not being able to push on, we'd be able to push on. So, first night in the Simpson, and boy did we have a good one.
Alright, so a bit of a change of plans for us. We are going to take the rig road to WAA line instead of just taking a French road. It's a bit more isolated, I guess. We just talked to, there was a patrol that came down the other way, they took it. Alright, so we're just about, we've been on the rig road for about half an hour now, half an hour to an hour actually, and it's been great. It's been like a rally road. There's been no cars. The only car we've seen was the one in front of us, which was the white GU who we're traveling with. And yeah, it's been awesome. The dunes have been getting progressively bigger, which is a lot of fun too. And yeah, it's been great. So now we've just stopped for lunch in this big sort of, I don't know what you call it, but it's like a lake bed in between two dunes. It's pretty cool. We just stopped here for lunch, just making up some wraps, and then we're going to head onto the WAA line. So we just turned off Rig Road onto WAA. Fuel is transferring, so that's the reason we couldn't cross the Simpson last year, is because we could not transfer fuel because our tank went broken on us. But now we are transferring fuel, which is good. We will be able to cross the Simpson and do it the road less travelled. We're taking the road less travelled. The WAA line is the road less travelled. So, you know, as the logo says, we're taking the road less travelled, which is mint. That's what we're here for. We thought maybe the French was the road less travelled, but the WAA is the road less travelled. So, get into some lunch and then get back on the road.
WAA line. Much better than French line in my opinion, because on French line, in the 2 days that we spent on it, we saw maybe 10 to 15 people. The second we turned onto WAA line and onto Rig Road, I kid you not, one person. We saw all in all 3 other cars on just one track. 2 Tritons and a Colorado, and that is all. No contact with anybody. This is the most isolated you can get. 2 days, no contact, no energy, no power. That is what our travelling is about. So if you really love isolation, get out to the Simpson Desert. And if you really, really love isolation, get onto the WAA line, because you will be isolated, away from everybody, away from the public. And that's what we were out there for.
Alright, so we just left the Salt Lake for lunch. We just had some sandwiches for lunch. Now we're going to head up to the end of WAA line, which isn't very far away at all. It's only about, I think, 2 or 3 kilometres. And then we will get onto Knowles Track up to Popal Corner. Knowles Track's about 34k from WAA line up. So that will be in between the dunes too, which is really cool. And yeah, actually this is cool right now. We're just driving over a salt lake, which is pretty bloody cool. I just want to talk about a few things that are important when you, to have on your car out here. 1 are recovery tracks, 2 is a sand flag, and 3 is the right tyre pressures. Recovery tracks, if you're going here solo, you need some way to get yourself out, and recovery tracks really are the right way. 2, with your sand flag, it's required that you have a sand flag if you come into the Simpson. If you don't have one and the ranger passes you, you can get fined for it. And it's just better if you're going over dunes and everything, you'll be able to see the person oncoming traffic. And then 3 is the right tyre pressures are so important, just because if you have the wrong tyre pressures, it can completely change the way your car's driving on the dunes and even on the roads up to the dunes. Like say we're about 23 PSI around 22 PSI, which is really the perfect PSI for this car throughout these tracks. It just means that the tyre's bulging out and that we're getting a lot more contact patch with the road, which is exactly what we want, and that's why we do it. But it also means that it makes all these obstacles that we're coming up to, like this one here, this tyre garden, a lot more smoother for us. So it'll just help the car drive over. Another really important thing, which you don't need, but it's definitely recommended, is a UHF. Actually, no, you need a UHF. And just have it on channel 10 if you're solo, or switch between channel 10. That way you can just talk to any other people that are traveling across the desert, whether that's the French line, WAA line, QAA line, any tracks like that. And that's really just those 4 things you need before you come out here. It'll just make it so much easier for you, especially tyre pressures. But you don't want to get stuck. You don't want to have a head-on collision. You want to be able to talk to other people that are coming on. And, you know, if you've got those 4 things, it'll be a lovely trip. You'll have the time of your life. You'll be in complete isolation if you're on the WAA line. You'll be close to isolation on the French line. It's just an absolutely awesome little track. So, yeah, get out here, get to it, come see the lovely Simpson Desert. I definitely recommend it.
Last night in the Simpson Desert. That's right, so far 4 days spent crossing this little parcel of land that is so utterly beautiful. Cameras, drones, phones, they do not do it justice. This place is really just second to none and is one of the prettiest places I've ever seen, and I can tell you with utter certainty that I will be back. This holds a very special place in my heart, and I can tell you that we'll be crossing this Simpson many times again. That may be in the Suzuki, that may be in the Mav, that may be in other cars, electric cars, who knows. But for this trip, this would be our last night, and definitely one to remember. A nice little spot just off the track to ourselves. Campfire, and that's all we needed. One last night for the Simpson. After over 1,000 dune crossings, 1,140 to be exact, we finally came upon the one. The biggest dune of all. The biggest dune in the Simpson Desert. The biggest dune of all. I think you know which one I'm talking about. That's right. Big Red. So after crossing the Simpson Desert and seeing 10-15 people per day, we then come up to the Big Red Bash and Birdsville itself. Over 10,000 people packed in one town for one weekend. It was a bit of a culture shock for us, so we definitely got out of there quicker than most people would. It was just, we hadn't seen that many people, and seeing this many people packed together was a little bit confronting to us. In saying that, Birdsville, the town itself, is a lovely town and definitely a must-visit spot if you're crossing the Simpson Desert. Good for fuel, good for water, but apart from that, too many people for us, so we got out there. With our fuel topped up, our water topped up, and our tyres aired to around 30 psi, we headed out of Birdsville, down the Birdsville track towards Maree. We stayed the night off Birdsville track in a small little campsite and then headed through Maree towards Mount Little Station for our last bush camp of the trip. So that was our first Simpson crossing done in the Maverick. I can tell you that we'd definitely be back in many other cars in many other years to come. It is a beautiful place and I will definitely be going back. We didn't face many hardships this trip, and we were pretty lucky for that, but we weren't taking the hardest way through the Simpson Desert. There's plenty of other hard lines that we'd love to try, such as the Madigan Line and the Hay River Road track. So thank you guys for watching. I truly do appreciate it if you've watched up to this point. Please do consider liking, commenting and subscribing, as it definitely helps in the production of these videos. So that is all for today's episode. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in another one. Cheers.